Before we dive into today's story, I need to warn you. This is one of the most emotionally charged AITA stories I've ever covered. We're talking about a pregnant woman, a high-risk pregnancy, and stepdaughters who are doing everything in their power to make her life absolutely miserable. And when I say miserable, I mean they're literally preventing her from accessing the second floor of her own home, where her bedroom and bathroom are located. Yes, you heard that right. A pregnant woman with medical complications is being denied access to basic necessities by teenage girls who have decided they own the house. This story comes from Reddit's Am I the Asshole community, and let me tell you, the comment section was absolutely divided. Some people thought she was completely justified in what she did. Others thought she went too far. But I think once you hear the full context, you'll understand why this situation spiraled so far out of control. So grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's dive into this absolute train wreck of a family situation. Trust me, you're going to have opinions about this one. The story is titled, "My Pregnancy is at Risk, but my stepdaughters won't let me upstairs." And it starts like this. Let me introduce you to our main characters in this disaster. First, we have our original poster. Let's call her Emma. Emma is 32 years old, and she's currently 5 months pregnant with her first child. This pregnancy has been classified as high risk due to some complications we'll get into later. She works from home as a graphic designer, which will become relevant to the story. Then we have her husband, we'll call him David. David is 39 years old, works in corporate management, and he's been married to Emma for 3 years. But here's the thing, this is David's second marriage. From his first marriage, David has 2 daughters. Let's call them Madison and Olivia. Madison is 17 years old, and Olivia is 15. They live with David and Emma full-time because their biological mother, David's ex-wife, moved to another state for work about 4 years ago. The girls see their mom during summer breaks and major holidays, but otherwise, they're with David and Emma year-round. Now, according to Emma, the relationship with the stepdaughters was, let's say, manageable for the first 2 years of the marriage. Not great, not terrible. The girls were polite but distant. They had their own lives, their own friends, and mostly kept to themselves. Emma says she tried to bond with them. Family dinners, movie nights, shopping trips, but the girls never really warmed up to her. And honestly, that's not unusual in blended families. Lots of stepparents deal with kids who aren't interested in bonding. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world either. But then, Emma got pregnant. And according to her, that's when everything changed. The girls, especially Madison, the older one, became hostile. Not just cold or distant, actively hostile. Emma says Madison made comments like, "Now you're going to forget about us and Dad's going to replace us with the new baby." Olivia, the younger one, started following her sister's lead. Emma tried to reassure them. She sat them down, told them that a new baby doesn't mean they're any less important. David had the same conversation with them, but it didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. Now let's talk about Emma's pregnancy, because this is crucial to understanding why what happens next is so serious. Emma's pregnancy was planned. She and David had been trying for about 8 months before she finally got pregnant. She was thrilled. David was thrilled. Even the stepdaughters seemed, well, not thrilled, but they didn't openly object at first. The first trimester was rough, typical morning sickness, fatigue, all the usual stuff. But Emma pushed through. She was working from home anyway, so she could rest when needed. But then, around week 14, so early in the second trimester, Emma started experiencing some concerning symptoms. Severe cramping, spotting, sharp pains that would wake her up at night. She called her OBGYN, who told her to come in immediately. After a series of tests and an ultrasound, the doctor delivered some scary news. Emma has what's called placenta previa, a condition where the placenta is positioned too low in the uterus, partially or completely covering the cervix. Now, for those who don't know, placenta previa is serious. It can cause severe bleeding, and it puts both the mother and baby at risk. In Emma's case, it was classified as a complete placenta previa, meaning the placenta was fully covering the cervix. The doctor's orders were clear: modified bed rest, no heavy lifting, no strenuous activity, no stairs if possible, and if she experienced any bleeding, she needed to get to the hospital immediately. No stairs if possible. Remember that detail. It's going to become very, very important. Emma says she was terrified. This was her first pregnancy, and now she's being told there are serious complications. David was supportive. He rearranged his work schedule to be home more. He took over most of the household chores. He even set up a temporary workspace for Emma on the first floor, so she wouldn't have to climb stairs during the day. Their house is a 2-story home. The main living area, kitchen, and a guest bathroom are on the first floor. But the bedrooms, including the master bedroom where Emma and David sleep, are all upstairs. There's also only one full bathroom in the house, and it's upstairs. The guest bathroom downstairs is just a powder room toilet and sink, no shower or tub. So David's solution was this. Emma would spend most of her day downstairs, working in the living room. She'd use the downstairs bathroom when needed, but she'd still go upstairs in the evenings to sleep in their bedroom, and she'd shower in the upstairs bathroom. The doctor said this was acceptable. 1 or 2 trips up the stairs per day was fine, as long as Emma took it slow and stopped if she felt any pain or dizziness. This arrangement worked for about 2 weeks. And then the stepdaughters decided to get involved. It started small. Emma says that one evening around 6 p.m., she needed to go upstairs to take a shower before dinner. She's halfway up the stairs when Madison appears at the top, blocking her path. Madison says, and I quote, "You can't come up here right now. We're doing homework and we need privacy." Emma is confused. The girls' bedrooms are on the second floor, sure, but so is Emma and David's bedroom. She's not going into the girls' rooms. She's going to her own room and her own bathroom. She explains this to Madison. She says, "I'm just going to take a shower in my bathroom. I won't bother you." Madison doesn't move. She says, "We can hear everything through the walls. The shower is too loud. You'll have to wait until we're done with homework." Now Emma is tired. She's pregnant, she's been working all day, and she just wants to take a shower. But she doesn't want to start a fight. So she says, "Okay, how long will you be?" Madison shrugs. "Maybe an hour. Maybe 2. I'll let you know." Emma is frustrated, but she goes back downstairs. She waits. An hour passes. Then 90 minutes. Finally, she texts David, who's still at work, and tells him what happened. David calls Madison. Emma can hear him on the phone, telling Madison to stop being difficult and let Emma upstairs. Madison apparently agrees, and 20 minutes later, Emma finally gets to take her shower. Emma thinks that's the end of it. Just teenage attitude, right? Madison was being bratty. David corrected her, problem solved. But the next day it happens again. Emma needs to go upstairs to get something from the bedroom. Both girls are suddenly in the hallway upstairs, and Olivia says, "Madison's studying for a big test. You can't come up here right now. You're too distracting." Emma is starting to get annoyed. She says, "I live here too. I need to access my own bedroom." Madison chimes in. "Your doctor said you're not supposed to use stairs anyway. Why are you even coming up here?" And here's where it gets nasty. Emma explains calmly that the doctor said limited stair use is fine. 1 or 2 trips a day. Madison smirks and says, "Well, maybe you should just stay downstairs completely. It's safer for the baby, right? Unless you don't care about the baby's safety." Let that sink in for a moment. A 17-year-old girl is weaponizing a medical condition against her pregnant stepmother. She's implying that Emma is endangering her own baby by existing in the second floor of her own house. Emma is shocked. She's hurt, but she's also 5 months pregnant and exhausted, so she doesn't have the energy to fight. She texts David again. This time David comes home early. He has a conversation with both girls. Emma doesn't hear exactly what's said, but David assures her that he's handled it and it won't happen again. Spoiler alert. It absolutely happens again. Over the next week, the stepdaughters find increasingly creative ways to prevent Emma from going upstairs. Sometimes they claim they're in the middle of an important video call and need quiet. Sometimes they say they're changing clothes and need privacy, even though Emma would be going to a completely different room. Sometimes they just stand at the top of the stairs with their arms crossed and say, "Now's not a good time." And every single time, Emma has to either wait, argue, or get David involved. David keeps telling the girls to stop. He has conversations with them. He takes away privileges. He grounds them. Nothing works. And then things get worse. Now you're probably wondering, where the hell is David in all of this? Why isn't he putting a stop to this behavior? And that's exactly what Emma is wondering too. Because here's the thing, David is trying. Or at least Emma thinks he's trying. He talks to the girls. He sets consequences. But he's also, and this is where it gets frustrating, he's trying to keep the peace. Emma says that David's approach is to talk to the girls, explain why their behavior is wrong, and hope they'll come around on their own. He doesn't want to be too harsh, because he's worried about damaging his relationship with his daughters. Direct quote from David according to Emma. They're going through a lot. Their mom isn't around much, they're dealing with the idea of a new sibling and they're teenagers. We need to be patient with them. Emma, by the way, is not feeling patient at this point. She sits David down and has a serious conversation. She says, "Your daughters are making my life miserable. I can't even access my own bedroom without their permission. This is my house too. I'm pregnant with your child. You need to do something more than just talk to them." David gets defensive. He says Emma is being too sensitive. He says the girls are just acting out and they'll get over it. Emma asks, what if they don't get over it? What if this continues for the rest of the pregnancy? David doesn't have an answer. The situation continues for another week. Emma is now 6 months pregnant. Her belly is getting bigger, climbing stairs is getting harder, and the stepdaughters are getting bolder. One evening, Emma desperately needs to use the bathroom. The downstairs powder room doesn't have a shower, remember? And Emma had been doing some work in the garden against doctor's orders, but she was going stir-crazy, and she's dirty and sweaty and needs a real shower. She goes to the stairs. Madison and Olivia are both there. Again, Madison says, "We're having a private conversation. You need to wait." Emma has had enough. She says, and I'm paraphrasing here because Emma's language got a bit colorful, "I don't care what you're doing. This is my house. That is my bedroom and my bathroom. Move out of my way right now." The girls don't move. Emma takes a step up the stairs. Madison moves down one step, maintaining the blockade. Emma says, "I'm not kidding. Move." Olivia says, "Or what? You're going to hit us? That would be assault. We could call the police." Let me repeat that. A 15-year-old girl just threatened to call the police on her pregnant stepmother for trying to access her own bathroom. Emma is shaking. She's either going to cry or scream, she's not sure which. She takes out her phone and calls David. David is still at work, about 30 minutes away. He asks to talk to Madison. Emma puts him on speaker. David says, "Madison, let Emma upstairs. Now." Madison says, "We're just trying to have some privacy, Dad. She's constantly interrupting us." David, clearly trying to keep his voice calm, says, "You can have privacy in your own rooms. Emma needs to use the bathroom. Let her pass." There's a long pause. Finally, Madison and Olivia move aside, but they don't go to their rooms. They stand in the hallway, watching Emma with these smug expressions as she walks past them to the bathroom. Emma gets to the bathroom, closes the door, and just breaks down crying. She's 6 months pregnant, dealing with medical complications, and she's being bullied in her own home by 2 teenage girls. And her husband, while sympathetic, doesn't seem to grasp just how serious this has become. That night, Emma and David have their biggest fight yet. Emma says the girls need serious consequences. She suggests family therapy. She suggests sending them to stay with their mother for a while. She suggests something to show the girls that this behavior is unacceptable. David resists. He says he doesn't want to exile his daughters. He says therapy is overreacting. He promises he'll be stricter with them. Emma says, "You keep saying that, but nothing changes." David says, "What do you want me to do? They're my daughters. I can't just kick them out." Emma says, "I'm not asking you to kick them out. I'm asking you to make them understand that they can't treat me this way." The argument goes in circles. Eventually, they both go to bed angry. And that's when Emma makes a decision. She's done asking permission to exist in her own house. The next day, Emma has a scheduled appointment with her OB/GYN. It's a routine checkup, or at least it's supposed to be. The doctor does the usual examination, checks the baby's heartbeat, measures Emma's belly, all the standard stuff. Everything looks okay with the baby. But then the doctor asks Emma how she's feeling. And Emma, who has been holding everything in, just breaks. She tells the doctor everything. The stairs, the stepdaughters, the constant stress, the fights with David, the fact that she's been avoiding going upstairs because it's become too much of a battle. The doctor's expression gets very serious. She asks Emma, "How often are you going upstairs? How often are you able to rest in a proper bed?" Emma admits that for the past week, she's been sleeping on the couch downstairs more often than in her own bed, because it's easier than fighting with the stepdaughters every evening. The doctor is not happy about this. She explains, with placenta previa, stress is a major risk factor. Stress can cause contractions. Contractions can cause bleeding. Bleeding can lead to preterm labor or worse. Also, sleeping on a couch is not ideal for a pregnant woman, especially one with complications. Emma needs proper support for her back and hips. The doctor says, and I quote from Emma's post, "I need you to understand that your living situation is putting both you and your baby at risk. The stress alone could trigger complications. You need to be in a calm, supportive environment. If that's not possible in your current home, we need to discuss alternatives." Emma is stunned. The doctor is essentially saying that staying in her house could be dangerous. The doctor continues, "I'm going to be very direct with you. If you continue experiencing this level of stress, if you're not able to rest properly, I may need to put you on full bed rest. That means no work, no household activities, nothing. And if your home environment doesn't improve, I'll need to consider whether hospitalization might be necessary to protect your pregnancy." Hospitalization. Emma starts crying. She doesn't want to be hospitalized. She doesn't want to be on full bed rest. She just wants to live peacefully in her own house. The doctor gives Emma some resources for stress management and recommends family counseling. She also increases the frequency of Emma's appointments. Now Emma needs to come in every 2 weeks instead of monthly, so they can monitor the situation more closely. As Emma is leaving the doctor's office, she gets a copy of the doctor's notes. In the notes, it clearly states, "Patient experiencing significant stress due to hostile home environment. Recommend immediate intervention. Continued stress poses risk to pregnancy." Hostile home environment. Those words hit Emma hard. Her own doctor is documenting that Emma's home is hostile, that her stepdaughter's behavior is a medical concern. Emma gets in her car and just sits there for a while. She's trying to figure out what to do. She could show David the doctor's notes. Maybe seeing it in writing from a medical professional would make him take this more seriously. She could call David's ex-wife and ask her to take the girls for a while. But they haven't had much contact, and it would probably just create more drama. She could move out temporarily. Stay with her parents, maybe. But that feels like she's letting the stepdaughters win. Or she could put her foot down in her own house. Guess which option she chooses? Emma gets home from the doctor's appointment around 4 p.m. David won't be home for another 2 hours. The stepdaughters are both upstairs. Emma can hear them talking and laughing. Emma makes a decision. She's going to go upstairs, pack a bag with some clothes and toiletries, and bring them downstairs. That way, she won't have to keep asking permission to access her own belongings. She starts climbing the stairs. She's moving slowly, carefully, one hand on the railing. Madison appears at the top of the stairs. "Here we go again. You can't come up here right now," Madison says. But this time Emma doesn't stop. She keeps climbing. "Did you hear me?" Madison says, her voice getting louder. "I said you can't come up here." Emma reaches the top of the stairs. Madison is blocking the hallway. Emma says very calmly, "Madison, I just got back from the doctor. My doctor says the stress you and your sister are causing is putting my pregnancy at risk. I'm not asking your permission anymore. I'm going to my bedroom to pack some things. Move." Madison doesn't move. Instead, she calls out, "Olivia." She's up here again. Olivia comes out of her room. Now both girls are standing in front of Emma. Emma says, "I'm not playing this game anymore. Both of you go to your rooms. Now." Madison crosses her arms. "You can't tell us what to do. You're not our mother." And there it is. The classic stepfamily line. Emma has heard this before in various forms but never quite so directly. And normally she would try to de-escalate. She would back down. She would get David involved. But not today. Emma says, "You're right. I'm not your mother. But I am your father's wife. I am the owner of this house. My name is on the deed too. And I am a pregnant woman who needs to access her own bedroom. So I'm going to say this one more time: move out of my way." The girls look at each other. They're probably not used to Emma standing up to them like this. Madison says, "We're going to tell Dad that you're being mean to us." Emma pulls out her phone. "Great. Let's call him right now. I have my doctor's notes right here that say your behavior is medically dangerous. Let's see what he thinks about that." She starts dialing David's number. That's when Olivia says something that Emma says she'll never forget. Olivia says, "Maybe you should just get rid of the baby. Then everything would go back to normal." Emma freezes. Did this 15-year-old girl just suggest that Emma should terminate her pregnancy? Emma says her vision literally went red. She was so angry she couldn't even speak for a moment. When she finally finds her voice, she says, "Get to your rooms. Right now. And don't come out until your father gets home." The girls, probably sensing they've gone too far, actually comply this time. They go to their rooms and close the doors. Emma makes it to her bedroom, closes the door and collapses on the bed. She's shaking. She's crying. She's furious. She tries calling David, but he's in a meeting and doesn't answer. Emma spends the next hour packing several bags: clothes, toiletries, medications, anything she might need. She's done asking permission. She's bringing everything she needs downstairs, and if the girls don't like it, too bad. When David gets home around 6:30, Emma is waiting for him. She shows him the doctor's notes. She tells him about the confrontation, and she tells him exactly what Olivia said about the baby. David is horrified. He immediately goes upstairs to talk to the girls. Emma can hear him yelling, and David never yells. She can't make out exact words, but she can hear the tone. He's furious. He comes back downstairs 20 minutes later. He looks exhausted. He says the girls deny saying anything about Emma getting rid of the baby. They claim Emma misunderstood. They say they're being unfairly punished. Emma says, "I didn't misunderstand. Olivia told me to get rid of my baby." David runs his hands through his hair. He says, "I believe you, but they're claiming you're lying to get them in trouble." Emma says, "So what are you going to do about it?" And here's what David proposes. The girls are grounded for 2 weeks. No phones, no going out with friends, no extracurriculars. And they're required to attend family therapy sessions. Emma asks, "That's it?" David says, "What else do you want me to do?" Emma says, "I want them to go stay with their mother, at least until after the baby is born." David says that's not possible. His ex-wife doesn't have room for them long-term, and pulling the girls out of school would be disruptive. Emma says, "Their presence is medically dangerous to my pregnancy. The doctor said so in writing." David says, "It's not the girls' fault. It's the stress. We can work on reducing stress without sending them away." Emma is done. She tells David she's moving into the guest bedroom downstairs. She's not climbing those stairs anymore. She's not dealing with the girls anymore. And if things don't improve significantly, she'll be going to stay with her parents. David begs her not to do that. He promises the grounding will work. He promises the girls will change. Emma says, "You've promised that before." And that's when Emma makes her Reddit post. She wants to know, is she the asshole for wanting to send the stepdaughters away? Is she overreacting? Or is she justified? Okay, so Emma posts this story on Reddit's Am I the Asshole forum. And let me tell you, the response was massive. The post got over 8,000 comments in the first 24 hours. It was trending on the subreddit. People had strong opinions. Now, before I get into the verdict, let me explain how AITA works for anyone who doesn't know. Commenters vote on whether the poster is NTA not the asshole, YTA you're the asshole, SH everyone sucks here, and H no assholes here. The judgment with the most upvotes becomes the official verdict. So what did Reddit decide? The overwhelming majority said, Enta not the asshole. In fact, the top comment with over 23,000 upvotes said this. Enta, your stepdaughters are literally endangering your pregnancy. Your husband is enabling their abusive behavior. You're not asking them to be sent away permanently. You're asking for a safe environment for a medical emergency situation. If your husband can't prioritize the health and safety of his pregnant wife and unborn child, you have a husband problem, not just a stepdaughter problem. That comment really resonated with people because it highlighted something important. This isn't just about bratty teenagers. This is about a husband who isn't protecting his wife. Let me read you some more top comments because they really capture the different perspectives. One commenter said, "Imagine being so petty that you'd endanger a baby out of jealousy. These girls are 15 and 17, not 5 and 7. They know exactly what they're doing. They're old enough to face real consequences." Another said, "The fact that one of them told you to get rid of the baby is absolutely horrifying. That's not just teenage rebellion, that's cruelty. Your husband should have immediately sent them to their mother after that comment." One commenter raised an interesting point. Everyone's focusing on the stepdaughters, but can we talk about how the husband is failing here? He sees his pregnant wife crying. He sees doctor's notes saying she's in danger. And his solution is a 2-week grounding? No. He needs to take this seriously. But not everyone agreed that Emma was completely in the right. Some commenters voted everyone sucks here. Their reasoning was interesting. One said, the girls are terrible, yes. But shipping them off to their moms isn't a solution, it's avoidance. These girls need serious therapy and consequences, but exile isn't the answer. Dad sucks for not handling this properly. Stepmom sucks for wanting to just remove the problem instead of addressing it. Another SH vote said, "The girls are obviously in the wrong, but I can't help but feel like there's missing information here. Stepfamily dynamics are complicated. Did Emma try to bond with them before getting pregnant? Did she support them when their mom moved away? Sometimes stepmothers expect instant families and get frustrated when reality doesn't match. Still, endangering a pregnancy is never okay." And then there were a few, not many, but a few YTA votes. One commenter said, "YTA, these girls lost their mom to another state, and now their dad is having a baby with someone new. Of course they're acting out. They need compassion, not punishment. Sending them away will only confirm their fear that they're being replaced." But this comment got downvoted heavily, with responses like, "Compassion doesn't mean accepting abuse, and being upset doesn't give you the right to endanger someone's health." There were also a lot of practical suggestions in the comments. Install a lock on your bedroom door so the girls can't mess with your stuff while you're downstairs. Set up a baby monitor or camera in the hallway to document their blocking behavior. Contact the ex-wife directly and explain the medical situation. She might be willing to take the girls for a few months if she understands the severity. Tell your husband that either the girls go or you go. Give him an ultimatum. Several commenters who identified as stepparents chimed in with their experiences. One said, "I'm a stepmother to 2 teens. I get that it's hard. But what these girls are doing goes beyond normal adjustment issues. This is calculated cruelty. Your husband needs to step up." Another stepparent said, "I've dealt with hostile stepkids. What worked for us was family therapy and very clear boundaries. But the key is my husband was on my side. Your husband is trying to keep everyone happy, which means nobody's happy. He needs to choose." That phrase came up a lot in the comments. He needs to choose. People were pointing out that David was trying to avoid choosing between his daughters and his wife, but by not making a choice, he was essentially choosing the daughter's feelings over his wife's health. One highly upvoted comment said, "Your husband is so worried about being the bad guy to his daughters that he's okay with being the bad guy to his wife and unborn child. That's backwards." There were also comments from people in the medical field. A user claiming to be an OB nurse said, "NTA, placenta previa is no joke. Stress can absolutely trigger complications. Your doctor is right to be concerned about your home environment. If your husband saw what can happen when placenta previa goes wrong, he'd be taking this more seriously." Emma actually responded to several comments providing more context. Someone asked if the girls had ever been violent or physically threatening. Emma said no, it's all been psychological, the blocking, the comments, the exclusion. Someone asked if David has tried individual therapy with the girls. Emma said he suggested it, but Madison refused, saying there's nothing wrong with her. Someone asked about David's ex-wife, could she intervene? Emma said she'd thought about reaching out, but David doesn't want her to because it would undermine his authority as a parent. And that last bit got people riled up again. Comments like, "His authority? His authority is already undermined because his daughters don't respect it. He's more worried about looking bad to his ex than protecting his current wife. That's a problem." The overall consensus from Reddit was clear. Emma is not the asshole. The stepdaughters are being cruel, the husband is being weak, and Emma needs to prioritize her health and her baby. But the question remained, what should Emma actually do about it? Emma's Reddit posts blew up. Thousands of people were invested in her story. And 3 weeks later she posted an update. Here's what happened. After reading through the Reddit comments, Emma showed David the post. She wanted him to see that this wasn't just her being overly sensitive. Thousands of people agreed that the situation was unacceptable. David was, let's say, shocked. He was embarrassed to see his parenting criticized by thousands of strangers. But he also couldn't deny that maybe, just maybe, he hadn't been handling this correctly. That night, David and Emma had a long conversation. Emma told him that things needed to change, or she would be going to stay with her parents for the remainder of the pregnancy. David finally understood how serious this was. The next day, David called his ex-wife. Without telling the girls, he explained the entire situation to her. He told her about the doctor's notes, about the comments, about everything. According to Emma's update, the ex-wife was horrified. She had no idea things had gotten this bad. She agreed to take the girls for the remainder of the school year. She'd find a way to make room. David sat down with Madison and Olivia and told them they'd be moving to their mother's place. Not permanently, but until after the baby was born and the situation calmed down. The girls predictably lost their minds. Madison accused David of choosing Emma over them. She said he was kicking them out of their own home. David, to his credit, stood firm. He said, "I'm not choosing Emma over you. I'm choosing safety for all of us. Your behavior has been unacceptable, and it's putting your baby sibling in danger. This isn't a punishment, it's a necessary change." The girls refused to speak to him for 3 days. They packed their bags in silence and left for their mother's house. Emma says those first few days after the girls left were incredibly peaceful. She could go upstairs whenever she wanted. She could sleep in her own bed. She could exist in her own house without permission. But she also felt guilty, which surprised her. She writes in her update, "I know I shouldn't feel guilty, but I do. These are David's daughters, and in a way, I feel responsible for them being sent away. David assures me it's not my fault, but it's hard not to feel like the evil stepmother everyone accuses me of being." Reddit, of course, had thoughts about this too. The top comment on the update said, "You're not the evil stepmother. The evil ones are the girls who told you to get rid of your baby. Don't let them make you the villain of their story." Emma's pregnancy progressed. She had a few more scares, some spotting, some cramping, but overall things stabilized. At 32 weeks, Emma had to be put on full bed rest anyway. Not because of stress, but because her placenta previa wasn't resolving. But at least she was able to rest comfortably in her own home, in her own bed. Madison and Olivia stayed with their mother. David visited them every other weekend. The girls started therapy, individual and family sessions. Emma says in her update that the girls are slowly coming around. They're not friendly with her, but they're not openly hostile anymore. It's progress, even if it's slow. At 37 weeks, Emma had to have a planned C-section because of the placenta previa. The baby, a girl, was born healthy, 7 pounds 3 ounces. David wanted the girls to meet their new sister right away. Emma was hesitant but agreed. Madison and Olivia came to the hospital. They were awkward and uncomfortable, but they held the baby. They took pictures. And when they left, Olivia said, very quietly, "Congratulations." It wasn't much, but it was something. Emma's final update, posted 6 weeks after the baby was born, said this: "Things are far from perfect. The girls still live with their mom. David sees them regularly. We're still in family therapy, but we're making progress. The girls have apologized, sort of. They said they were scared of being forgotten, and they handled it badly. I'm not ready to forgive them completely yet, but I'm trying. The baby is healthy. I'm healthy. That's what matters most." To everyone who commented on my original post, thank you. Seeing thousands of people validate my feelings made me realize I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. And I deserve to be safe in my own home. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my stepdaughters. Maybe we'll never be close. But at least now we have boundaries. And that's a start. And that's where the story ends, or at least that's the last update Emma posted. So what do we think? Did Emma do the right thing? Was David's eventual response appropriate? Should the girls have been sent away sooner? The comment section on the update was mostly positive. People praised Emma for standing her ground. They praised David for finally taking action, even if it was later than it should have been. Some people still thought sending the girls away was extreme, but most agreed that given the medical circumstances, it was necessary. One commenter summed it up perfectly. Sometimes in blended families, love isn't enough. You need respect. You need boundaries. And you need parents who will enforce those boundaries. This family is learning that the hard way. And really, that's the lesson of this whole story, isn't it? Love is important in families. But so is respect. So is safety. And when those things are missing, something has to change. So there you have it, one of the most intense AI stories I've covered. A pregnant woman, medically vulnerable, being psychologically tormented by her stepdaughters in her own home. A husband who took too long to take action. And a situation that escalated to the point where a doctor documented a hostile home environment in medical records. This story hits on so many complicated issues: stepfamily dynamics, pregnancy complications, boundaries, and the question of when protecting yourself becomes too much. I think most of us can agree that what those stepdaughters did was wrong, but the question of how to handle it, that's where it gets complicated. Should they have been sent away immediately? Should David have been stricter sooner? Should Emma have pushed back harder from the beginning? I don't think there's a perfect answer. Blended families are messy. Add in a high-risk pregnancy, and you've got a recipe for disaster. But I do think Emma was absolutely right to prioritize her health and her baby's safety. And I think David learned an important lesson about the cost of trying to keep everyone happy. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Emma was right to want the stepdaughters sent away? Do you think David handled it well once he finally took action? And what would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've been in a similar stepfamily situation, share your story. I read every comment. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more Reddit drama. We post new AITA stories every single day. And if you want even more content, check out our TikTok where we post short clips from stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.